Welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, or night, whatever time it may be for you. And if you're not, that's okay. Feel free to stay a while and get your mind off of things. Today I wanted to talk about a client experience that I had while freelancing on the Fiverr platform. The order that I received was for one of my symbol designing services where I offered a pack of 12 symbols for about 20 bucks. Now before we actually get into the story of it all, note that I said symbols and not logos. Even though my gig specified that they were symbols and did not have the word logo anywhere in the gig or the tags for it, I already knew that it was going to be used as a logo designing gig for a lot of people, since there's a fair amount of buyers on the Fiverr platform who prey on newer sellers trying to get their review counts up. Although symbols and logos can be considered the same, there's a decent difference between the two, and the design process for a lot of people largely differ. Here's a symbol, and here's a logo. Back to the story. So the client tells me, I want my theme to be based on fantasy/surreal art. Get creative with my logo, which will be down below. Add symbols or whatever you see fit. Note that I've highlighted the text, get creative with my logo, and whatever you see fit. As I interpreted this information, I understood it that it was going to be less of a client plus designer collaboration and leaned more towards the designer's influence. So still learning my process of symbol design, I drew up a small mood board to kind of get an idea of some elements that could be incorporated into the design. Now, you might be able to tell, but I'm pretty damn good at drawing. That was a joke. I hope you smiled at that. So along with the mood board drawing, I reiterate what's delivered in my gig and that what he selected allows up to 12 symbols, but they don't necessarily need to receive all 12 if they don't want that many. I also asked about text options and if it were okay if some symbols didn't have text or his logo on it. Finally, I also asked if they were going to be okay with characters and anthropomorphic depictions of creatures and objects. When I speak to my clients, I always want to make sure that I get as much information as possible about what it is they want, so that I don't deliver something that completely missed the agenda. Given some time, the client messaged back and told me anywhere between 10 to 12 symbols will be fine. It is okay if it doesn't include my text. I am okay with characters, creatures, and objects. I just want you to be as creative as you can. Keep in mind, this is for my hat brand. Some more key phrases that they said in that message were highlighted. I am okay with characters, creatures, and objects. And I just want you to be as creative as you can. So I got to work and started working on the symbols. After about a day, I sent them the finalized version of their symbol. However, a revision request was requested. Having freelanced on Fiverr for some time, I had already gotten used to revision requests, as it's rare to hit the nail on the head for the first time around. Lots of buyers on Fiverr are new to working with a designer to get their designs done, so a lot of people might not know the good and bad ways of communicating what it is that they want. Bad communication can lead to a lot of misinterpreted details, and regardless of who was in the wrong, unfortunately, the seller will almost always receive the bad end of the review. The request that I received was definitely not the clearest. The client had messaged me, keep the regular symbols, you didn't have to make them into a hat. And I looked at this message for about an hour trying to figure out what exactly it is that the client wanted me to change. I understood that they wanted me to quote unquote keep the regular symbols, but it was unclear to me what was to be done about the rest of the symbols. In my reply, I referred to what the client had said previously, that they were okay with characters, creatures, and objects. Now, me saying that hat-related characters would have represented a hat-oriented brand well might not have been the best design decision that I could have made. Let me know in the comments if you think it was the right decision, and if not, what path could I have taken instead? I also mentioned that the mood board sketch was to be just that, a mood board sketch. Not wanting to get a low review and needing for this gig to pull through, I offered to remove the hat form aspect of some of the characters, but reiterated that I will not create entirely new symbols in replacement during revision, which was stated in my gig description. The client had gotten back to me and said, that's fine, I'm putting symbols on hats for designs. Can you remove the hat form aspect of some of them? So I got to work, and time was getting low on my delivery time. However, that wasn't too big of an issue since the changes were minimal. I had changed the balance of the entire sheet to be more 50-50 between hat designs and creature designs. I mentioned to the client that they had one more revision request they could use, but instead accepted the delivery. I was relieved that this small nightmare was over, but little did I know there was more on the other side of the hill. The way reviews work on the Fiverr platform is that the seller cannot see what the buyer reviews of their gig until the seller reviews the buyer. Before I get into the reviews, I want to mention that this kind of review system can really pressure newer sellers to give their buyers a good review so that they themselves don't look like the bad apple. And it's always intimidating because regardless of how the flow of the gig goes, your image is completely in the hands of the reviewer and you have very little power to recover from an intentionally bad review. So when thinking about my review for this client, I already had an impression that the review from them was not going to be a 5-star review. However, I've been proven wrong before more and gave this situation the benefit of the doubt. I had given the client a 5-star buyer review, but mentioned clarity was rocky, but relatively smooth project finish. Then I got to see the review my client had given me. They said, not what I wanted, and gave me a 1-star review for the category of service as described. Now, this completely confused me, and almost immediately I wanted to report the review to Fiverr's Zendesk Help Center as a false review. However, with Fiverr's review system, they do allow you one single reply to a review. The client cannot reply to your reply, which prevents unnecessary debates. So I took this opportunity not to put them in the dirt, but to make it clear to any passerbys that the mistake was not entirely my own. I pointed out in my reply that the client heavily emphasized that they wanted me to quote-unquote be as creative as you can, which in itself is something you literally never tell any designer no matter what. The designer needs to know what your vision is and what exactly you're looking for. Like I said though, not everyone knows how to properly communicate with a designer for what it is that they want. So some fault also lays on the designer when it comes to filling in that lack of communication from your client. I want to really emphasize that I do not feel negatively about this client and instead see it as a gig that was lacking in communication from both ends. Although receiving a review saying not what I wanted when they were given everything that my gig clearly described was annoying, it wasn't something I should sit and debate on. Something I want to really make clear for anyone currently or planning to sell on the Fiverr platform is that you shouldn't make compromise just for a good review. If a client is being pushy and rude, and if they aren't communicating and things aren't being understood, reach out to Fiverr and cancel the gig if it really isn't working out. As much as you might need the review, you shouldn't sacrifice your mental health or lower your value to get it. The difference between working for Fiverr and a design agency is vast. When working at a design agency, although it's still a client to designer business, there was a lot more input requested from the designer, since the people going to design agencies might not have as trained of an eye for design. While selling on Fiverr, there is very little design input requested from designers, since the majority of people buying on Fiverr are looking to get what they want done and only want their vision completed. I personally have nothing against this type of buying, but it was definitely something I was not aware of when freelancing on the Fiverr platform. And I want to make sure that people are aware of some of the things they can expect from buyers on the Fiverr platform. That's the end of one of my rough client stories. And would I work with him again? Likely no. Personally, it's because if the client themselves is unwilling to try and work with a designer to make something work out, that tells me that they feel the designer themselves is unimportant and that they only wanted to see their vision digitized, and I'm not the kind of designer to be pushed that way. If you liked what I had to talk about in this video, feel free to tap that like button and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. If you didn't like the video, feel free to tap the dislike button and let me know in the comments what you disliked. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you like the Nike poster designs I did in the background here. They aren't actually for Nike. I just wanted to see if I could create a Nike style poster design. I didn't catch it in the recording, and I actually ended up inverting the text color for Eleanor's quote so that it's easier for a majority of people to understand and see the quote within a quote. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care of yourself, stay hydrated, be sure to eat if you haven't, and I'll catch you all next time.